FORA.tv. The world is thinking.
Governor Romer, we have 50 states. You were governor of one of them. How do you get governors, 50 governors, on board with something like this?
Checker and I began this conversation in 1992 on a panel called Incest.
Excuse me?
It was National Committee on Standards and Testing or something like that.
Education Standards and Testing.
Yeah.
Somebody should rename that panel.
Yeah. But here, standards. I watched in this political year, very hesitant for a federal office seeker to go out to a state and say, I want to tell you how good is good enough for you, and I want to tell you how to improve your schools. They just won't do it. The conversation is blocked because they're worried about states' rights. We need to have a different conversation. We need to have a president go to Iowa and say, I want you, Iowa, and 15 other states to get together. Well, let me put it this way. The next president, whoever it is, the first 30 days in the White House ought to call 50 governors in and 50 state school officers and say, I want to make a new deal with you. I want you to benchmark your standards to the 10 best nations in the world. Start with 15 of you. It'd be voluntary. You come back in 90 days and give us a model set of standards that you'll annually benchmark against the 10 best nations of the world. You decide how good is good enough and commit to go there. If you do that...
Could you get 15 governors?
They're already doing it.
And they can agree on that?
The Achieve organization and others affiliated are now building that combination. And what that does to a governor like Colorado or anybody else, it gives them strength. They're not standing there alone. They can save costs and they can have strength. But the point is, if they voluntarily decide this is how good is good enough, then a president can come to them and say, I'll give you the tools to get there. And I think some of the tools in this instance ought to be, one, I'll give you more time under Leave No Child Behind because you're reaching to a higher standard. Two, I'll give you money to help design more authentic assessments so we get rid of this bubble stuff. Three, I'll pay for the administration of your tests. And that way you then have a federal government not intruding and demanding that you do it our federal way, but the federal government is there like in consumer protection. I'm going to guarantee that your 8th grader is going to be equally prepared as the Dutch 8th graders in the world they're about to enter. It's a paradigm shift that we need to make.
So I want to pick up on that for a second because I think what you're suggesting is a very interesting new consideration for a federal role in education. So it's a convening role and it's a catalytic role as opposed to a highly regulatory role and a role of direct control. So the notion of being able to do exactly what the governor said is a pretty remarkable grand bargain. So states actually get relieved of the cost of doing this high quality, very necessary work. In lieu of their opportunity to create a set of American high benchmarked standards and the assessments that go with those standards. And you're letting the professionals in the field, much like the other professionals, such as medicine and law, create these benchmark standards. I think from that flows a very fascinating conversation about the quality of teaching and learning, which I think is very, very positive. But this notion of a president in a federal education that convenes and catalyzes is really significant.